So picture this. Right in the heart of Jackson, Mississippi, there's this huge, empty plot of land. I mean, it's a total blank slate, with the potential to completely change the city. But this place is also haunted by a really troubled past. Today, we're going to dig into this incredible story of division, community, and the fight for a city's soul.
First, you have to get your head around just how big this is. We're talking 640 acres. That is bigger than all of downtown Jackson. It's bigger than the entire Jackson State University campus. Heck, you could drop the city's trendy Fondren district right in the middle of it and still have room to spare. This is, without a doubt, one of the biggest urban development opportunities in the entire American South right now.
And this idea right here? This is the core of the entire story. See, to build something new and actually successful here, everybody involved has to face what happened on this land before. This so-called blank slate, well, it's got a whole lot of history written in the soil.
Yeah, before it was just empty land. It was a lake. And you literally cannot tell the story of that lake without talking about the history of segregation in America. The two are completely tangled up.
This timeline really just lays it all out. Back in the 1950s, Lake Hico opens up for fun and recreation, but only for white people. Then, 1964, the Civil Rights Act passes. Suddenly, the city has a choice. Are you going to integrate or are you going to shut it down? Well, in 1968, they made their choice. They shut it down. And not just the lake, they closed every single public park and pool in the city. The message couldn't have been clearer. If we can't have segregation, then nobody gets to have any fun.
So for the next 50 years, the lake just sat there, totally closed off to the public. But then a few things happened recently that completely changed the game, turning it from an old industrial site back into this massive opportunity.
After the city closed it as a park, the lake still had a job to do. It was basically a giant cooling pond for the Rex Brown power plant, which was this critical piece of the area's energy grid, run by the company Entergy.
And this is where the modern story really kicks off. In 2019, that old power plant was finally retired. A year later, in 2020, Entergy drained the lake, they checked out the soil, and they handed the now empty 640 acres back to its original owner, which was, believe it or not, this city's school district.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, wait, why does a school district own a giant piece of real estate? And that is a great question. It's because of this really unique thing in Mississippi called 16th section land. Basically, the land is owned by the state, but it's managed by local school districts specifically to make money through leases to help pay for public schools. So Jackson Public Schools, or JPS, suddenly found themselves in the real estate development business. All right, so the land's clear. We know who owns it. Now what? Well, JPS kicked off this big public process to figure out what to do next, and the whole tone was super optimistic, a chance to finally do something really special with this space. And the head of the school district, Superintendent Dr. Eric Green, he really set the tone. He made it clear this wasn't going to be some top-down decision. He framed it as a historic moment to finally listen to what the community has wanted for decades. And they really did seem to listen. JPS held these public forums, they sent out surveys to get ideas straight from the people of Jackson. So, what did everybody say they wanted to see there?
And the results are pretty fascinating. I mean, look at this. The two biggest words that came up were recreation and community. It makes perfect sense, right? After being locked out for generations, people just want parks, they want open spaces, places to gather. And then you see other popular ideas like entertainment, housing, business. It really paints a picture of this vibrant new neighborhood built completely from scratch.
But it's never that simple, is it? While all these official meetings were filled with these hopeful ideas, a very different conversation was happening on the outside, one full of deep frustration and, frankly, mistrust in the city's leadership.
This post from a local activist, Dr. Pertis Williams, of a group called Project HUEmanity, it just captures all that anger. He's arguing that the city's black leaders have completely failed to undo the racist legacy of places like Lake Hico. He even calls them gatekeepers and accuses them of making things even worse.
So you can really boil down this whole fight to two things: speed and trust. The official JPS plan is this long-term vision, something that's going to happen in phases over decades. Dr. Williams says, no way, a better plan could get done in just a few years. And while JPS is calling their process community-driven, critics like Dr. Williams are saying, nope, you're just gatekeepers, shutting out the real voices of the community.
So where does all this division leave us? Well, it brings us to the proposed plan, and to the massive question that's hanging over this entire thing. Can a piece of land
actually help heal the deep wounds of a city.
So what's the actual game plan? Well, it's broken into 3 phases. First up, short term, is all about quick wins. Open up the land for people to use, maybe host some festivals, build some walking trails, plant some trees. Then, midterm, that's when you start building the boring but essential stuff, roads, sewers, utilities, to try and get developers interested. And then finally, long-term, that's the big vision, major housing, businesses, even new connections to the interstate.
And here's the kicker, the financial reality of it all. The school district, JPS, they don't have the hundreds of millions of dollars this is all going to cost, not even close. The whole plan depends on creating a vision that's so exciting that private developers will want to come in and spend their own money in exchange for long-term leases on the land.
So we're left with this question. Lake Hico was created in segregation and closed because of racism. Today, the debate over what to do with it is just full of division and mistrust. The stakes, honestly, they couldn't be higher. This is so much more than a real estate project. It's really a test of whether a city can truly face its own past to build a better future on a piece of land that, for so long, stood for the exact opposite.